as both Universe 7 and Universe 11 battle for supremacy in determining which universe is going to be the last ones remaining in the Tournament of Power. Gohan seems to have made a very crucial mistake in miscalculating his opportunity against Topo, but is this going to be a detriment for Team Universe 7 as Gohan's mistake is going to reflect on his actions, or is this a secret blessing in disguise as Gohan wants to maintain his team in keeping Android 17 around to perhaps maybe further their chances in defeating Jiren? On today's video, we are going to be discussing Gohan's role in the Tournament of Power as he sets to collide against Topo and what the repercussions might be in his choice of actions, so buckle up and hold on tight and grab onto your senzu beans because we're going to be diving into a very deep and very interesting rabbit hole next. If you are a passionate fan and want to share your love for Dragon Ball, don't forget to go ahead and punch that subscribe button and enable all notifications by clicking that bell icon. That way you guys can be notified whenever a brand new Dragon Ball video is posted onto this channel and sent directly on your devices in connections to news, information, updates, discussions, theories, and spoilers to be up to date with all the latest in Dragon Ball news. Hashtag Dragon Ball Squad. Thank you so much for your support, and without wasting any more time, let's begin. As we near the finale of the Tournament of Power, the climatic battle between both Universe 7 and Universe 11 is about to take place as Gohan is set ready and focused on targeting the Universe 11 Pride Trooper leader Topo, and while the engagement with Topo, Gohan seems to have made a very crucial mistake in which may possibly result in Universe 7 having to be at a total disadvantage with Topo having to remain in the tournament. Now joining me here today to tackle the subject of Gohan having to battle against Topo is none other than Jessica, also known as Bubbles, from Popo's bedroom, as I do want to discuss Gohan with you and getting your personal thoughts as to how you feel about Gohan, because I love Gohan as a character and many people within the fandom have wanted to see Gohan take action ever since the beginning of Super, and ever since the beginning of Super, Gohan hasn't really done anything to prove himself. The closest we ever gotten to Gohan doing something was when he battled against Beerus. Having to follow those events, the closest we've gotten to Gohan having to actually do something was with the engagement of Frieza and his army. Ever since then, he hasn't been involved in the Champa story, nor against Goku Black and Zamasu. So having a battle against Topo, Jessica, I wanted to ask you your personal thoughts as to how you feel about Gohan making this crucial mistake in not listening to Android 17 and throwing Topo out of the ring while 17 is attached, paralyzing Topo's body, giving him the opportunity to throw out one of the biggest threats in the tournament. Do you think that perhaps maybe this is a selfish move on Gohan's end in wanting to more or less keep his teammates around to further progress their way forward as they fight Jiren? Or do you think that it may be logical to some sense for Gohan to preserve 17? What's your take on Gohan? As I do want to go ahead and ask everyone in the comment section, you guys can go ahead and post your comments down below and letting us know your thoughts on Gohan's role going forward. Now again, I wanted to speak to you more or less about Gohan's involvement and where do you see Gohan's placement while fighting Topo in the Tournament of Power?
I feel that it's a little bit bold of Gohan to not take the kill while he has the chance and just ring out Topo, because truly, even though it does work to have as many fighters on the team as possible versus Jiren, because they are going to realize that, you know, still moving forward, having Dyspo and Jiren in the fight, that is going to be another struggle that they're going to have to go forward. I think he realizes that the numbers are important, because at least if they're able to outlast the time limit,
right,
then I feel that at least in his mind frame, possibly that 5-3, they would be the universe with the most members if they're able to keep 17 on. So I think to him, you know, if they're able to get Topo slowed down by 17, you know, full body paralyzing him type thing, then I think he sees that it's a possibility that they can get Topo out a different way if they try without sacrificing 17 along the way. Because I think Gohan's a very tactical character, and even though he's hesitant when 17, because I'm assuming 17 with the way his character is, that he'd give him the direct order to just knock them both off.
Right.
And I know that Gohan, the way that he thinks, would be much more hesitant because he's going to see the number side, and he's also going to see the fact that if in future episodes they are able to get the chance to get Topo out again, and they are able to get Dyspo out, then they are going to see the fact that the only remaining factor of Universe 11 will be Jiren. So I think that he has both ways to look at it, which is they're going to need the numbers, and they're going to need the numbers against Jiren.
I think it's kind of ridiculous, actually, that Gohan isn't going to ring out Toppo, considering that 17's attached. I feel as if, from two different standpoints, it's a good and a bad thing. The good thing is the fact that Gohan knows that the biggest threat in the tournament is Jiren. So if his own father, who is at max power Super Saiyan Blue, and Vegeta, who's also at max power Super Saiyan Blue, can't even put a dent in him, then they're going to need all the firepower they have, including 17 and Frieza. And with that, eliminating Toppo would be kind of a detriment to their numbers, because yeah, even though it is, you know, 5 versus 3, if Toppo and 17 were to get wrung out, you'd be essentially down to 2 versus 4. And I think that despite what anyone else says, 17 is a huge component and a huge plus for our fighters in our team, considering that he's been the MVP for the most part in this tournament. But what I wanted to also ask you is, how do you feel about Gohan's development going forward? Because with Gohan having to be very hesitant, Toppo begins to reveal more of his power, more of his God of Destruction-like power in episode 125, and that's going to be, you know, disastrous towards our fighters, because a lot of them at this point going into 125 are possibly going to be a bit tired, a bit worn down, especially the ones that are going to be fighting Jiren. For Frieza, Gohan outmaneuvers Toppo and focuses more on helping Frieza, which could lead into one of two factors. Either A, Frieza and Goku, actually Gohan, overcome the odds of Dyspo and having to ring him out, while Goku and Vegeta fight against Jiren, and thus we have Toppo and Jiren having to remain, and then the other fighters having to refocus on them. Or we can have, you know, Gohan redirect his focus on helping Frieza, and Toppo could redirect his attention in fighting 17 fully with his God of Destruction power. And I think that while Gohan is very hesitant on eliminating Toppo, I think that's going to result in Toppo eliminating Android 17. Just because if 17 is effective enough to paralyze him for a moment's notice to get him out, I think Toppo's going to realize this and redirecting his focus on him, and thus causing that elimination because of Gohan's actions and not doing what assumingly 17 says in ringing him out. So how do you feel about that? How do you feel about Toppo having to potentially eliminate 17 based on Gohan's actions and not taking the order and throwing him out because they're connected? What do you think about that?
Well,
it's very interesting.
I think at the end of the day, you know, we still have fighters left to lose. So I think that, you know, for them to go the full seven minutes, I think that's left.
Yes.
Without them losing anybody, I think that's a little bit far-fetched. So I do see 17 going out, but I didn't quite think about the Toppo eliminating him thing with the redirect. I was just thinking that it would be, you know, he was trying to help out, and then it was more of like an accident.
It would make the most sense, considering if you're Toppo and you put yourself in Toppo's shoes, I want you to come to the understanding that you were just momentarily paralyzed by this fighter that you know is a credible threat. Even though he's not Jiren type level, he's still formidable enough to even put a dent in you, who was a candidate to be a god. Who else would you redirect your focus on? Someone that, you know, has very high strength but no sense of moves that can actually paralyze you like 17 can? Or will you redirect your attention fully on 17 as opposed to Gohan, who you know is more of a threat, I think, when it comes down to stamina, speed, and just preserving, you know, their energy? Because 17 has preserved his energy and using energy to his advantage and getting through Aniraza's attacks and whatnot. So, you know, it only makes sense to me in seeing this, because then we would boil down to 4v3. We would have Frieza, Gohan, Vegeta, and Goku versus Jiren, Toppo, and assumingly Dyspo. If they toss out Dyspo, then it'll be down to 4v2. Jiren and Toppo versus Frieza, Gohan, Vegeta, and Goku. So as we go forward, where do you see Gohan in all of this? Because if 17 gets eliminated by Toppo, I think it only makes sense to see Gohan throw out Toppo. How do you feel about that kind of order in being the process of elimination? Toppo eliminates 17, Gohan eliminates Toppo, in which ultimately could result in Jiren eliminating Gohan. So how do you feel about that, if that were to be the case?
Well, I think that Gohan Gohan eliminating Topo is definitely something I would like to see, because ever since it was announced that the two of them would have a little bit of a fight in the tournament, that was something that I was extremely excited for.
Right.
I've been waiting to see something from both of them. So to get to see them fighting together and knowing that we're down to the last fighters and the last moments, to know that, you know, this is the time to get them wrung out, I think that would be an interesting fight to see, because it's obviously you're gonna only have two choices at that point, which would be either Gohan goes out or Topo goes out. And I do think that since Gohan is the team leader of Universe 7, that I think he still has a little bit more to offer for Universe 7 in keeping him in the tournament. So I think that it does, once Topo reveals his like full power and his God of Destruction level, like that kind of power, I think once he has all of that laid out, once he has all of that revealed, and once he faces off against 17 again, whether he knocks him out or not, and faces off against Gohan, that he's gonna not have much else to offer because he's already released his full power. So I think it does make most sense to see him go out over Gohan. I just think that would be a good touch, because then we'll still have Gohan in with Vegeta, Goku, Frieza, and he'll still be able to kind of call the shots in a way and help out Frieza fighting Dyspo. So I think that makes the most sense.
I definitely feel as if Gohan's character is going to feel the after effects of him not doing what 17 assumingly orders him to do, because looking at it from possibly Frieza and Vegeta's perspectives, more so them than Goku, because I don't really think Goku cares as much, they would really be upset considering that, you know, Dyspo is a formidable person in this tournament. He's, even though strength-wise he's not that powerful, when it comes to speed, precision kills, and I think that all you really need in this tournament is speed, because speed kills, precision kills, and I personally feel like that's going to favor Dyspo, because he could easily increase his speed thousands of times beyond superhuman levels, just as we saw with Hit, and Hit's an assassin. Hit is someone that can easily move through time by creating his own pockets of time and using that to his advantage, and someone like Dyspo was easily able to hear the noise that, you know, Hit's body was able to make and getting the upper hand on Hit. Now, I don't really see the problem in Dyspo having to utilize that against anyone else, and I feel as if Gohan having to fight Dyspo, having to, you know, help Frieza is interesting enough, because it's like, okay, you don't take care of Topo, but instead you move on to your next target. Why? How do you feel about that? How do you feel about Gohan just leaving Topo behind just to help out Frieza? Because, I mean, it's safe to assume universally that Topo is way beyond, you know, Dyspo when it comes to feats and strength. So it's like, why would you ditch Topo and leaving him against 17, assumingly, just to help out Frieza? How do you feel about that? Do you think it's a good tactical move on Gohan's end to just, you know, do that? Or do you think that it's going to favor them in eliminating Dyspo and then refocusing their attention on Topo? What do you think about that?
Well, I think that seeing how 17 would presumably order Gohan to just knock them both out at the same time, you know, Gohan's already seen that 17 can handle his own against Topo, so I would assume that moving forward, he feels, again, that 17 can hold his own against Topo. And so he probably sees that Frieza's in a bit more of a struggle and knows that Dyspo is going to be a slightly easier opponent to get out of the ring.
Right.
And again, that would factor down to the numbers, is that if they can get Dyspo out and leave it to just Jiren and Topo, yes, they may as well be the two strongest fighters left, but if they only have 2 fighters left compared to the 5 that Universe 7 still has left, I think that's where it's going to make more sense, because leaving 17 behind to be the only one versus Topo, that's only 1 fighter, 17. And I feel that if Gohan and 17 are still teaming up against Topo at this point, if Topo gets a ring out, he's ringing them both out together, that kind of thing. So I feel that if Gohan moves on to fighting Dyspo with Frieza, that at least he knows for granted that he's gonna get Dyspo out while keeping Frieza in the ring, and then Frieza will be able to then in turn help them get Topo out, because then they will have 3-on-1 for Topo if help is
Right. Now,
ring.
let me ask you, how far do you see Gohan going in this tournament? Because One of the only reasons as to why I'm so behind Gohan is the fact that I do believe that he's going to be backed into a corner as he did against Raditz, as he did against Frieza, as he did against Cell and Majin Buu. I think that Gohan's going to get backed into a corner, and I think as an end result, he's finally going to do what he did previously in the series, and that's unleash more of his power, or at least his full potential, and manifest that onto the surface in getting the upper hand on whoever he fights, assumingly Topo. How do you feel about Gohan having one last hurrah against Topo? And if you were to call it right down the middle, do you think that Gohan is going to last until the very end, or do you see Topo or someone like Jiren throwing him out at some given point? Like who do you see throwing him out, and how long do you see him lasting by the very end of this?
I think that Gohan won't make it to fight Jiren. I think that he's gonna be essentially rendered useless by the time the fight with Jiren comes. Hopefully he gets to ring out Dyspo and Topo so we can see more from Gohan. I think the idea of him getting backed into a corner per se is a good idea because everybody knows that's when he fights to his best ability. So I think matching him against a full strength Topo would be an interesting concept. However, I think that once Topo and Dyspo get out, he's kind of not really going to be needed, Gohan. I think he's just going to be extra, like, baggage and numbers at that point. Right. Versus Jiren, obviously, we know he's not going to make a dent just because we saw what Goku did against Jiren and, you know, needing Ultra Instinct and all of that. So I feel that at this point, moving forward to defeat Jiren, Ultra Instinct is going to be the only way to go. But if they're able to keep the numbers in long enough, I think that a lot of people are forgetting that you can win default by that. So as long as Frieza and Gohan are smart enough to not get themselves out, I think that that right there is going to be fine because you're going to have Goku and Vegeta preoccupied with Jiren. But it would definitely be interesting to see Gohan get full power again because, you know, we've only, in Super so far, I feel like we haven't seen anything from Gohan. We've only really seen him in dad mode. Nobody really wants to see that. We want to see him kicking ass again.
Yeah, definitely.
So, I think it would be cool to give him that shine again because it always seems that, every time he has his little bitch moments, that he always has one of those fire-up moments after that. So I think that with plot convenience, it would make sense to have him just lash out and just become that strong fighter again. But again, once he's got his full power, the same as Topo, once he releases his full power, is he really needed after that? Because once he's done his thing, like, there's not much more he can do. Like, that kind of thing?
Yeah. To the sense to where he fights Jiren, then yeah, I mean, there is no use for Gohan because, let's be realistic, if you're a Gohan fan, you have to accept the fact that Gohan's not going to be any sort of match against Jiren, especially at his current level. So, I think that by the very end, Gohan's purpose will be served. I think that Gohan's going to manifest a lot of his power onto the surface, and I do firmly believe that at the very end, by the very end, Gohan is going to get the elimination over Topo eventually. I think that Topo is going to ring out 17, and I think that as a response, Gohan's going to ring out Topo, which to me only makes sense considering Gohan's potential. But post your comments down below, guys. What are your overall thoughts on Gohan having to fail in throwing out Topo via 17, having to paralyze and holding him down? Do you think that this is going to affect Gohan's character as we carry on forward? Let us know your thoughts down below, guys. Thank you all so very much for watching. If you guys are new to this channel, don't forget to punch that subscribe button, guys. Turn on all notifications by clicking that bell icon. If you guys are not following me at Twitter, be sure to follow me at Twitter at UnrealEntGaming, alongside Instagram at UnrealDBZ, and Facebook. I will leave links to all three of those down in the comment section description below. So I hope you guys follow me on all those social media platforms to be up to date with all that is in Dragon Ball. Also, guys, make sure to go ahead and subscribe and check out Popo's Bedroom, which is a collab channel that Bubbles is featured on, which of course they also do collaborations and discussions on various different topics of Dragon Ball. So thank you all so very much for watching once again. We hope you guys enjoyed. Tune back in for more, and we'll be seeing you all in the next Dragon Ball discussion video. Have a great day, everybody. Peace.